you, Mark. Hello, friends. Great to be here and welcoming each of you into our practice together. Inviting you to make yourself comfortable, stable, dignified, relaxed in your posture. I'll share a little bit and then we'll move into meditation together. In times of difficulty, which of course these continue to be for many of us, one thing that really helps all the time, in fact, is to have clarity of intention. I may not want or like what's happening. At times I will, at times I won't. Sometimes it's pleasant, sometimes it's really not. But if I'm clear on how I intend to respond to what's arising within me and around, that helps, can help profoundly. That clarity of intention gives me somewhere stable to stand. And I think that in meditation practice, this is often unclear. There's so much advice and so many different practices, and so many people say so many things. So it's so natural to wonder, what am I meant to be doing when I meditate? So today I want to offer you what I hope will be some clarity on that, on what you could do when you meditate. I want to offer you one framework. And of course, as I've said, there are many. I'm not claiming to be the only one, but it's one that for me can be simple and simplifying. So here goes. Often, very often, my practice is like this. I float in awareness. Simple as that. Not much effort required, just being here, receiving what comes along, falling back into the space of the mind, resting in it, giving up the struggle, letting go, and staying here. Staying here in touch, connected, and beyond that, pretty effortless, just floating in awareness. Sometimes in practice, we can just rest in the space of our being. We don't need to do anything more than that. We can just be. That makes sense. That is pleasant and supportive. And in those times, there's nothing else we need to do. That's wonderful. Just to be is enough. And sometimes we find that just resting in space, just floating in awareness, for one reason or another, it doesn't seem to be enough. We keep being pulled away. It doesn't bring us peace in the moment. At times like that, we may find that we need something a little more engaged. So then we give ourselves that, some particular focus that we can give attention to, a peg, if you like, for the mind. And there are many, many options for what this particular focus could be. I have four for you, which I'll put in the chat and I'll read them out. We could focus on the sensations of our breathing, however you feel them most presently. You could focus on the sensations of a region of the body, the hands or the feet or the back of the neck or the tummy, anything. You could focus on the sounds around you, the soundscape in all directions and the silences in between them. Or you could focus on a person or place or image which is supportive to bring to mind. Many options. But in this simple and hopefully simplifying framework for practice, The essential intention is just to float in awareness. And when you need some more particular focus for grounding and centering, then you give yourself that. When you don't need it, you're not required to do anything at all. You just rest in the space. The Jewish mystical tradition encourages us here by referring to the divine as hamakom, the place or the space, which is often interpreted to mean that even the space in which all our experiences arise, whatever they are, the very space of presence is already sacred, whatever's coming up in it, and already not dependent on us having to do something to make it so. Just being here, bamakom, in the space, is enough. Baruch hamakom, we say on Seder night. Baruch Hu, blessed is the space. And you can see the source sheet after the practice for some more examples of hamakom in Jewish text and practice. But really what I'm wanting to encourage for now is that it is enough just to be here. And when you want a more particular support, then it's really skillful to give yourself that. And when you don't need it, there's nothing extra you have to do. So let's practice, allowing the space, giving yourself an anchor as much as that feels helpful and supports you to be here, and not having to do any more than that. Enjoying the gift of awareness without having to turn it into a task. Each of us discerning, navigating from one moment to the next. What feels helpful for my practice right now? Do I sense a deep yearning just to allow, just to be here, leaning in without holding on, just resting in the space, hamakom? Or do I sense that what will really support me to be here is some particular focus that I can keep coming back to, anchoring and orienting by some touchstone, and then giving myself that? No secret hierarchy between these two options, just choice. Sometimes one is more skillful, sometimes the other. How about for now? We could say this is a deep practice of the Shema, of listening, What's calling me right now? Is it the release of pure being? Is it the support of something concrete, tangible, and grounding? Not trying to work it out or impose someone else's practice, just listening patiently to hear your own. Apps, including as you practice a sense of this group, some 200 and something of us, maybe more, sharing this moment, holding the space open for each other to rest in. Each of us held by the collective. How might it be to let yourself belong to this wider field? Baruch Hu. Blessed is the space. Blessed. Just to have space, the space of awareness, the space we all share, already a blessing. Thank you for your practice. Passing over to Rabbi Mark now for Kaddish.
Thank you so much, Zac. This beautiful practice, as always. And friends, let's stay present for those of us who are in mourning or observing a yard site, or for whom it's the custom to recite the mourner's Kaddish, which we'll share in a moment. If you'd like to put the name or name of anyone whose memory or soul you're honoring today, you can do so in the chat. Thanks to Harry for sharing the words of the Kaddish on the screen. If you're reciting it, please join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitkadal, Dak Shmei Rabash, Yama Dirahu,
Dirahu te
Mahute,
Hegion Uban Makon Deo Beit Israel Ga'ala
Gala
V'Tova
Ubizman
Amen
Karim,
Ishmei Rabban Mevorak
Rabban Barak,
V'Yishtabak Amar
Rabba,
V'Yishtabak
Yishtabach,
Tadar
God,
Levin
Nase,
Tikishab
God,
Yam Kol V'Chol
Amen.
Lechamatan
Amen.
Ma'avaru Amen Shalom Avraham Shemaya Yimalenu Israel V'Ru Amen Shalom Bilamav Yaseh Shalom Israel Tivel
Amen.
Amen.
And friends, thanks so much for joining us today. As always, especially in these times, it really feels so good to be together in this spiritual community. We hope you'll join us tomorrow. If you're leaving now, we'll be led in practice to sit into Shabbat together as we do on Fridays with Rabbi Marcelo Bronstein, who'll be joining us from his home base in Costa Rica. And we hope to see you then. And if not, sometime next week. As always, you're welcome to stay on just to continue to sit with us and turn off the sound on your computer or device and continue just using the container of this time in this community to continue with your own practice. Or you can join us for a conversation about today's practice, today's teaching, share reflections on your experience in the chat. You can raise a question. And if you have a question, as always, I encourage you, please, to preface whatever you write in the chat with the word question and put that all in caps. And I will keep an eye out for the questions and try to work them in. Well, let's start with a question in the chat right away. Zac, thank you so much, as always. Looks like you're muted, so let's Make sure you're unmuted. Let me get you unmuted. There we go. I want to explore with you a little bit more this word hamakom, which is one of the names, of course, for the divine in our tradition, as you said. But first, this question from Julie: can you speak about resting in awareness off the cushion in real life? Which actually is a great question. It's always a great question, especially a great question as we transition from our sit to the rest of our day. Julie writes, for me, that's the point of meditation, not what happens when I meditate, but how I can show up in real life with more presence, calm, and spaciousness. So, Zac, maybe, I don't know, like we only see you when we're here for meditation. Maybe you can speak a little bit about how you take this off the cushion, off the seat, into the rest of life.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Really helpful question. How do I do it? The best I can is the truth. Uh, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. And I do not have a formula or guarantee because I agree. What I really care about is life, relationships, being the best that I can, responding skillfully, and not just responding skillfully when it's a very contained and calm and tranquil experience, but in the thick of it as well. In the heat of the moment, how much freedom do we have? I don't think it's none, but it's also not always that much. Something just comes out of us and we just do something. And sometimes afterwards we think, oh, I wish I'd done this or not done that. I really see my meditation practice as a long-term project to, as best I can, increase the probability that especially in those heated moments where I might say something that takes a long time to heal, I'm sure we've all been there, that I just might not do that next time. And each time I sit down to meditate on my meditation cushion in the morning or whenever it is, it's like an investment. It's like slowly, slowly, I'm growing this calm and spaciousness within me. And that just makes it that much more likely that when I really need it, the light will go on and you'll think, hey, don't do that. That thing you're just about to do, that send button, maybe just don't do it right now. You're actually quite activated. I think it's very helpful to connect our formal meditation practice with what happens out there. And also to be really compassionate on ourselves that it's not necessarily true that if we meditate really, really, really hard, we will definitely avoid all the pitfalls and the slip ups and the slips of the tongue. And I do think, as John Kabat-Zinn says, you weave your parachute a little bit every day. And if you do that diligently and in a dedicated way, it's much more likely that in those key moments, skillfulness and clarity and insight will be there for you.
You mean you're not always in a state of total awareness, Zac? Is that what you're trying to say?
Sorry, what did you say, Mark? I was thinking about something else.
Yeah, what a relief to know that. Let's stay with that for a minute. I love that. And frequently on the daily sit and in other contexts, I'm sure this is true with Hamakom also, the quote from Viktor Frankl, or at least the one that's attributed to Viktor Frankl, comes in about the space between stimulus and response, which is really what you're speaking about, right? That between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our power to choose, as you're describing. And in our choice lies our power and our growth and our freedom. And so the theory of change that you're describing, right, is if we practice making space that in the course of our day, as we go about our day with all the stimuli that are happening, that we have a better chance. I might just amend what you're saying. Let's say like even a slightly better chance, right? We don't know how big a better chance, but we know it will be a bigger chance than had we not practiced making space. There'll be to leave that space to be able to make wiser choices in our lives. But I'm interested in also about practice in that moment, like when you recognize, you, the text that you bring in the source sheet, which is the classic, really such a great classic Jewish mindfulness text of Jacob waking up from his dream and saying, Yud Hey Vav Hey is in this place and I didn't know it. Is that kind of awakening? And sometimes that happens after the fact for us, right? So do you have any practice that helps you stay alert to that moment? Like not hitting the send button. Um, in other words, is it, there's practice and then there's non-practice, but the practice impacts the non-practice part of the day? Or would you say that actually it keeps you alert to being awake to the possibility moment to moment the rest of the day?
Hmm. I would say yes to both. At
Mhm,
one level, at sometimes we're practicing, at other times we're not practicing. It makes sense to speak in those terms.
mhm,
At another level, there isn't a fundamental difference between the two. And we're just slowly refining the nature of our awareness
mhm,
so that that gap, as you said, between stimulus and response, between what happens to me and what I do about it, grows and grows over time. And every bit of practice that we do slowly helps that.
mhm,
So it might be a 30-minute meditation in the morning. It might be 1 minute every hour.
mhm.
I have the sense of like refreshing the field of awareness. And the more that I refresh the field of awareness, then the wiser that my choices are as I go about the day.
Right.
Um, to speak also to something that you said, am I not always in a state of total awareness? I do feel as a meditation teacher, one of the things I'm most moved to share with people, well, it's kind of two different things. On the one hand, and this is the more predictable one, it's that practice makes a difference.
Mhm,
That I've been practicing every day for a long time, and I am 100% convinced that it's made an enormous difference to my life. And it's stopped me doing things that could have had consequences over the years. And it's
mhm,
brought me a lot of joy. And I'm just overflowed by that. I really want to share it. And it's not cured everything. And my mind is not like a laser that I can just point at something and it just stays there. And there's all sorts of challenges that still are around. And I don't know, maybe if I meditated even longer and even better and blah, 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 blah. But after a while, you start to suspect, I think some of this isn't about me. Some
mm.
of this is just how it is.
Yeah.
And so I'm really moved to share that side of things too.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing both of those. Really, first of all, it's contagious. So it's really wonderful to hear it. Um, and then just to push it even a little bit further here, there's a question, Raquel's question in the chat, which I'm sure is a question for many people, including myself, which is in times like these, which we could have been able to say for quite a while now, in times like these, what are we doing sitting around? Shouldn't we be acting? Um, shouldn't we be resisting or taking action in some way? You think you've already set, basically answered it in the sense of saying that meditation is not doing nothing, right? It's an essential piece of acting in the world because it will help inform how we act in the world and how we do so wisely and effectively. At least that's one of the aspects of it. But I also want to invite you to think about I'm reading a lot these days about people who are not saying don't act. It's not like people should not take actions, but that even just being and breathing and not succumbing to despair or passivity, etc., in a way, is its own act of resistance. It's an action in itself. So there's two ways in which our what we're doing here is actually, it's not like it's not doing nothing. It has an impact in a number of different ways. I just want to invite you to comment on that a little bit. What would you say to
Yeah,
somebody like, what do you why isn't this just navel gaze, basically?
that's really beautiful. I think firstly, why isn't it just navel gazing? It's like, yeah, I do feel that there are things that really need to be done in the world. Um, in the sense that I feel in my heart and my gut, like some things are not how they should be and should be different and should be better. And we're called to try and do something about that. But recent history, long-term history suggests that it's very easy to try to do something with good intentions and make it worse. Not just not have the desired impact, but make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so that force that says, come on, this is not okay, do something about it,
Mm-hmm.
is a very powerful force that we shouldn't repress or
Mm-hmm.
ignore or try and meditate away. But we also don't want to be propelled by that we're so afraid not to do anything, to be accused of passivity, that we hurry into action and then we do something that actually makes the whole thing worse.
Right.
And so we're really trying to thread the needle, as you said, we're trying to find the balance of skillful action,
Mm-hmm.
not being passive and not being hasty. And it's hard.
Yeah, it
And I
is.
agree, I totally agree, Mark, that in the meantime, while we're pausing and patiently and wholeheartedly trying to discern what can we actually do that isn't just about virtue signaling, that isn't just about making myself feel better that I'm trying to do something, but that actually helps. In the meantime, we're not doing nothing. We are creating through our example, through our life, intentions and spaces and examples of peacefulness and steadiness and hope and joy.
Mm.
And that does something too. I'm not suggesting that's the only thing, but it's definitely part of something that I think is very valuable.
Yeah, thank you. If I might just tack onto that, and I think it's implicit in what you're saying, and you said it, you actually, I think, manifested it during the sit, which is that in addition to pausing and breathing and resting in awareness, we're practicing love and compassion towards ourselves and each other. I was very moved at the end, when you brought our awareness to the 200, there were 225 people at that point, all sitting together and supporting each other, being aware of being supported by each other, of the love that's flowing even, across the distances here. And that is, practicing love, practicing compassion for self and others. That also is for the sake of informing whatever actions we take so that they are not just grounded in fear, not just in reaction, right? In fear, in whatever other emotions, including, and just rage, fear, etc., but grounded in compassion and love, in wisdom, etc. And that's why we're here. We're here to do that. We really, that the mindfulness practice is a practice of, is practicing love as well as attention and presence. And I think that, just end here by saying, Zach, since we're closing, that it just comes, we sit with a lot of teachers day by day here. We have a wonderful lineup. And one of the major things they all have in common, I think, for the most part, almost, uniformly, is manifesting, manifesting that love and compassion. So I want to thank you for doing that. It just, a good Jewish mindfulness teacher, that's the secret ingredient, I think, in the teaching. And I really appreciate it, that in you and what you offer us today and each time you're with us. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Rabbi Mark. Thank you so much, everybody. I really wish you well.
Yeah, same to you, Zach. And everyone, hope to see you tomorrow to sit with Rabbi Marcelo Bronstein. Thanks to Harry for holding us together today. And many blessings to everyone. Hope to see you tomorrow. And if not, Shabbat Shalom.